Hi, guys, and thanks for joining us for the Yetis Without Borders podcast. I want to say it's episode 13 or 14, something in that area. Not 100% positive, it doesn't really matter.
I wouldn't have been so specific. I was like, we're getting up there, that's what I would have said.
Yeah, it's really
We'll tag it in the title.
Yeah.
So whatever it says in the title, we've done our homework. That's
Yeah.
definitely what episode it is.
Yeah, it ended off poorly.
Episode.
Yeah, basically.
Perfect.
My name is Patrick, and I'm joined, as always, by Zach. How you doing today?
Pretty good.
Sweet. And by my brother Timothy. How's things?
What's up? Things are great.
Sweet. Today we're going to be discussing 2016's Star Wars...
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Well,
Right.
it doesn't say that in the movie itself. The title card doesn't
Yeah,
say.
it just says Rogue One.
So
Oh.
is
Yeah.
the Star Wars story, is that the official title, or is that...
I think
Is
it's
that
the official
promotional?
title outside of the movie.
I've always seen it referred to as that, but interestingly, the movie itself does not ever say that anywhere in it. So I guess we'll see when we get the DVD cover or whatever, if it says
Yeah.
a Star Wars story
Because
on it.
I assume they did that just to get people excited for it to be something else Star Wars, but it might just be Rogue One on its own.
I guess from that same point, for packaging, it's easier then for like grandparents to look at it and be like, "This is Star Wars," whereas Rogue One, they're going to be like, "I don't know what this is." Well, Billy told me it was a Star Wars movie,
Yeah,
that's fair.
exactly.
so they gotta keep those people in mind.
makes sense.
Well, if I can attack the opening thing right away, this is the first Star Wars movie to not get a crawl.
Yeah, and there was a big to-do about it, apparently.
Yeah, and then some dude online made an opening crawl for it,
Yeah.
and I watched it, and it would work if they went with it, but I kind of liked the path that they chose of separating themselves from the main storyline.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense that like the anthology movies don't get a crawl, and maybe like if they're planning on maybe doing like an Obi-Wan Kenobi trilogy in the future, maybe those movies would get their own separate crawl. But it makes sense to me that Rogue One, also like this is what's being referenced in the New Hope crawl, is they're referencing the events of this movie. So why have a crawl for a crawl essentially? Like
Yeah.
Exactly.
If they had have ended it with a crawl, it would have been kind of cool.
that would have been neat. I agree.
That's what I thought the ending might be, was simply the beginning of New Hope, and then they just stop it before the call happens.
That's fair.
I thought that would have been a very cool way to end it.
That's fair. I mean, I knew that, and I until someone said that the guy that made the opening crawl was all pissed about it. I didn't even notice. I was like, "Oh, it's a movie. Cool." Oh, right, they did something wrong, and he's freaking out for whatever reason. I don't understand, but
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, just stylistically, in comparison to the original, I guess 6, I guess 7 now. I thought they did a whole bunch of things differently, which separated the movie, even further. They were giving the planets names. Like they would show a shot of the planet, and then they would tell you what the planet was and why you needed to know that they were there. For example, it was like Edu. Was it
scary.
Empire?
Imperial Outpost.
Imperial
or,
Outpost, or there was like Imperial War Camp or whatever. It was.
They did that in 1, 2, and 3, didn't they?
No, they did. They didn't have like the little titles,
Oh, okay.
so they would just be like, "We're going to wherever."
Yeah, it would be an expository explanation.
What the hell movie am I thinking?
You know,
I don't think there are titles in like. I get what you're saying. Like, what's the one in
because
Attack of the Clones where they go to the cloning planet? I don't think they actually have a little title.
I don't think they do.
Oh, okay.
I think one of the characters will make mention just before they go or as soon as they land. Oh, look, guys, we've just landed on blah planet, and they'll just show a picture of the planet as a starship flying in or
Yeah,
whatever.
because all I'm picturing is Coruscant, and then it, saying Coruscant, and then the city planet. But I could very well be wrong.
I don't think they do.
I don't
Did you
think
notice there's one planet in Rogue One where they don't put up a title?
I did notice.
Oh, the lava
The
planet.
Vader planet, which they have confirmed was Mustafar. It is.
Yeah.
It is on Mustafar,
Yeah.
where Vader got all his limbs chopped off.
Mhm.
The high ground, Central itself.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
heartbreaking Obi-Wan.
Which I guess is something actually like there's only like 5 or so books that are still canon, and that this whole castle thing is from one of the books, Lords of the Sith. And I guess it's basically it was like Darth Sidious's idea that Darth Vader like lives on Mustafar, and apparently it's over like a Sith cave or something. So we might. My big theory is that we're gonna see this castle come back in the Han Solo movie, and that him and Lando are gonna have to steal something from there.
Nice, I'd be on board with that.
And for conversation's sake, since you brought up the Han Solo movie, referring specifically to the cast of Rogue One, only one person has signed on for 2 movies, being the main lady, Felicity Jones. Jyn Erso. So it wouldn't surprise me if they brought her into the Han Solo movie for some sort of role.
I actually have a secondary theory as for what else she could have that track for, but it's kind of getting into the end of the movie, so I can save it for later. If
Okay, bookmark that.
yeah, I'll remember to bring it
Because
up.
I didn't read up any of the contracts or anything like that. I didn't
It was just when I went to IMDb, it was just one of the headlines.
Yeah, she-
it was, X, so and so Star Wars star signs up for 2 movies, and I was like, oh, I wonder who it is, because I was hoping it would be Donnie Yen, because Donnie Yen and Obi-Wan Kenobi should have a movie together.
It's not like Space Lethal Weapon.
It should be.
Is that what the anthology movies are going to be, though? Or is it going to become like the Star Wars team up? Like,
Star Wars does Scooby Doo. No, Anakin.
it's just Bosk and Watto going on an adventure. You know,
That'd be sweet. I'd be super on board with that.
Annie.
I mean, I'd like to see. They did say that the Donnie Yen character and the other guy character were like the 2 favorite ones in the show.
Understandably.
we could see young them. I would believe that. I mean, we would probably have to go to Jedha again, but that's not out of the question. That we could maybe one day get like an I mean, I guess Old Republic would be too old for those guys to be alive. So
Yeah,
we'd basically have to get a Clone Wars movie, which is just the odds of that happening seem very, very slim at this point. But an Obi-Wan movie, I don't think is out of the question. So
probably not.
Ewan McGregor has done. He was doing press junkets for whatever. Junkets is a reference to America's Sweethearts, by the way. It's Hank Azaria
I see.
playing a Mexican guy. It's hilarious.
Fair enough.
But-
I think it's Spanish. But
I thought he was specifically from Mexico. Oh, regardless, a Spanish guy. Regardless, he was doing a press junket for some movie, and he was asked if he would do a Obi-Wan movie, and both him and Kathleen Kennedy, the head of the Star Wars division. Regardless,
I
they
believe
both,
that's right. Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy.
yeah, they both said that they want to they want to wait on the Obi-Wan thing because there might be some use for Obi-Wan in the 7, 8, 9 trilogy.
That what I think that means is that Rey is a Kenobi. That's what I think. That's how I interpret that.
Me too.
Statement.
Me
is
too.
that-
Yeah, they've specifically held off. Like Obi-Wan's, or I mean, Ewan McGregor rather, is the right age where he could be. He's older than the Clone Wars cartoon. He's right in that right look to really pull off a good Obi-Wan. So I hope they don't wait too long.
I also think they will probably, based on what they did on this movie, just like have Ewan McGregor do a CG performance as Alec Guinness. As a Force Ghost.
Yeah.
Similar to how I can't remember the guy's name, but they had to cast a guy to actually play Tarkin and do his voice. Like that wasn't Tarkin's voice modulated. That was someone playing Tarkin. Obviously.
Yeah, in the style of, if you will.
Oh my God, what's the actual actor's name?
oh, Tarkin's?
Yeah,
Peter Cushing.
yeah, playing Peter Cushing.
He kicked off in '94. By the way, I didn't realize it was that long ago.
25 years
So
ago.
that would have been even before 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, large margin before the
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have something about the Peter Cushing thing. Obviously, he's recreated. He died, and he plays a pretty major role in the movie. And they recreated him through CGI by looking at old performances. But they had a problem because I guess back on New Hope, Peter Cushing really hated wearing like the Imperial boots, like the Imperial officer boots.
So he wore slippers.
So a lot of the time he's shot like from the waist up. Like there's a lot of things in New Hope where you don't actually see him walking around or anything. So to recreate his movements, they had to go to other Peter Cushing movies, and apparently this was the most costly like CG recreation ever. There was another one this year where we had like young Robert Downey Jr. in
Avengers.
in Civil War.
Civil War, yeah.
Yeah, and they did it in X-Men. Right at the start where he's like seeing his parents.
Right.
But in X-Men 3, they do it with Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a long time now. But Tarkin, I guess for that reason, because there isn't a lot of shots of him in New Hope, like full-body shots, it took a lot of time.
I do remember the slippers thing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah, but for conversation's sake, how cool was Tarkin in this movie. I thought if I didn't know he was CGI, I would say he looks a little weird, but I wouldn't assume that he was a computer-generated character.
Well, I mean, I can't say that I didn't know he wasn't dead. So
Yeah, exactly. They're just in your head. You already know Peter Cushing is dead. So
yeah, but I mean, he did look realistic. My friend who I saw it with thought that he was still alive, and he's like, "No, man, it's the guy." And I'm like, "No, man, he's been dead for a long time."
He's
like,
been dead
he's
for-
like, "No, I'm pretty sure." And I'm like, "No, I'm sure his corpse looks good."
22 and a half years.
Yeah, but no,
But-
he's dead.
Like I think I can point out Civil War as well. The mouth movements with CG characters is always questionable.
yeah,
I feel that Tarkin was the first time that the mouth movement didn't throw me off, because even young Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War, the way he spoke when his mouth moved, it looked weird. This is the first time I didn't question it.
I thought this looked better than Downey Jr. for sure. When I most noticed the CG, and I don't know why this is because I don't know the technicality, but when Tarkin would like turn his head the way it turned, it just didn't look natural. I don't know what the actual technical reason behind that is, but that was when I could most tell. that he
It
was
looked like
CG.
digital moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I
Someone's,
totally
like,
agree.
facing and then like this immediately. You're like,
Exactly.
"What's going
I
on?"
guess
You're
that's
just, like,
what
copy
it
and
just is.
paste.
Sort of like it looks like a computer
Yeah.
game or whatever. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't read as real motion. But it didn't take me out of the movie. I honestly was really impressed with it. I initially
Yeah.
thought it was Tywin Lannister that they had CG to look like Tarkin, but that wasn't it at all. They had just fully recreated Peter Cushing, and someone else was doing the movements, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it was not Tywin Lannister. They just happened to sort of look similar.
And
they're
he
both
did-
angry white men.
They
that
do
are-
kind of look similar.
And he didn't wear slippers.
he didn't wear slippers.
I think they should have. I thought that would have been, that extra little nudge, that extra little nod to the
That should have
series.
been the post-credit scene, is someone coming and telling Tarkin about the Death Star plans being gone, and he's like in a bathrobe and
Yeah,
slippers.
sliding his slippers across the floor while he's holding cocoa.
And it's just like actual footage of Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
Also, when we're talking about the CG recreations, they also used unused footage from New Hope to recreate Gold and Red Leader, I believe.
Red 5.
Yeah. They were both, and they were both
Porkins.
completely original footage that they. I mean, I think you could kind of tell, but they slid in pretty seamlessly into the movie.
They
and I
did, yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
them doing that.
Well, and I don't know how I can phrase the end of the movie. I don't know if I assume everybody's seen it, and anybody who will listen to this.
Well,
but
we can say
I'll-
there's going to be spoilers. It happens.
okay, there are spoilers. Leia at the end looked fantastic as well.
I thought she looked really good.
I thought
But-
she looked like too good. I thought she looked better in this than she did in Star Wars, and I was like, "How's that happen?"
I mean, I don't know. She was like, 19 in Star Wars?
Yeah.
So, like, she did kind of have flawless, porcelain skin.
Yeah.
Like, I get that, like, when you see her now, you're like, no human looked that way, but she did sort of look that way.
Yeah.
Like,
She just
Yeah.
had that pristine sort of.
It almost
Digital
like,
look
yeah,
about her.
it just almost looked like she was just too clean.
Yeah, it's like they went above and beyond to make her look.
Yeah, and I mean, like
Cleaner
it looked
image-wise.
really good, and I mean, I haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies for a long time because I don't need to, but I don't really recall what she looked like in Episode 4.
Pretty damn close.
she's pretty similar.
Pretty
yeah.
similar.
I'd buy it,
Yeah, they really. There's some people online bitching about, I can't believe you use CG characters, whatever. Fuck those guys. I thought it would. There's no way they could do a prequel to a movie that came out almost 40 years ago and have these characters in it
Well,
without
now
it
it's 40
being
years
questionable.
ago, right?
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's 77, yeah, so now it's 40 years.
Yeah.
Tarkin, they could have made him play a lesser role, but I think that it's good that they didn't. They could have had Leia not in the end and just alluded to it, but I'm glad they didn't. I think they did it right.
I thought they were gonna do the whole Spaceballs thing where she turns around and it's a stunt double.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been pretty sweet. I don't people are going to bitch about everything. I mean, there's always going to be people that say that want, authenticity, and they want this, and they want this, and they want you to dig up Peter Cushing's body and have it get rolled around and talk.
Now, I
Just
thought
like-
it would have been good if they did Weekend at Bernie's with Peter Cushing.
Well, I mean, he's been dead for 25 years. It's probably...
Whatever, just go with it.
I think it'd probably be pretty tough.
Just tie him onto Ben Mendelsohn's shoulders and just.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's probably decrepit and doesn't
You're
look
totally
any
right.
He'd be a
Of course he
skeleton,
is.
yeah. Yeah,
Of
you
course
know.
he is, but it doesn't matter.
And he'd be
He'd be
taller because
like-
they'd have to put skull onto
They could
head.
have like an Imperial bio class, and Peter Cushing could have been the skeleton. To go from that to this is really sappy, but rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. That made me really sad when she died.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, she's on a UK show. Well, it's a half UK, half American, called Catastrophe, where an American comedian and a UK comedian, they met, and then they just decided they wanted to do a show together. And Carrie Fisher plays the American comedian's mom, and she's super batshit crazy in the show. And she walks
real
around
life.
with her real life dog. Her real life dog is actually credited as a character in this show. And then
Apparently that dog's famous. I saw a lot of people posting about how they were sad for the dog.
yeah.
I guess she just posts pictures of the dog all the time.
Oh,
the dog
the-
has a Twitter or something.
Yeah, the dog has its own Twitter account.
Of course it does. Why
But
would it
well, exactly. But and then also
she did a lot of coke, you know. Like her, she's not.
Yeah.
She's not. I don't. She wasn't all there.
I don't think so.
Well, it would have been. I want to say because she had her heart attack on Christmas Day. Is that correct?
I thought it was like the 23rd.
Hey, it was right. I don't know.
Okay.
It's-
Yeah.
Regardless
yeah.
of when it was, literally the day before, she was on a UK program called 8 out of 10 Cats, and I watched that, and she was fun and interacting and everything, and they made some Star Wars jokes, and it was really cool to see all that. And then so her last performance is that, as far as I know.
Well, she's gonna be in episode 8.
Yeah.
They
There's-
finished her filming for episode 8,
Yeah,
so she will be in that. That was probably the
which
last
I'm
thing.
excited about.
Yeah, I'm
That'd
curious to
be
see
like
if they're
next year.
gonna set her up to do CGI for 9, or if they're just gonna like write her out.
I think they won't. I think that she'll just be gone. They might explain it a little. I don't know. They might do some CG fun stuff to kind of explain why she's gone. But I think beyond that, I don't think they're gonna Paul Walker.
It actually wouldn't surprise me if they CGI'd and did some reshoots for 8 to kill her off, or at least write her out.
I would be surprised if she already died originally.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I would be shocked if she lived throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, while she was the Mon Mothma-esque character, it was really. It seemed very different.
They even killed Mon Mothma in 7, so no one is safe.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, one of the big issues I have with Force Awakens, as compared specifically to Rogue One, is that I felt that Force Awakens was very much a fan. What's I don't even know what the right word is, but it's like
Fan fiction or
no, they were just making it to please fans. Like they're just
fan
bringing
service.
Service. There you go. That's the term I was looking for. It's a fan service, and you know they're bringing in the characters, and oh look, so and so's on the screen, cool, and this guy and that, and I felt after the 15, 20 years since the last Star Wars movie, I felt 7 served specifically as a way to just reinvigorate the series, and with that out of the way, we end up with Rogue One, which I never at any point felt like, oh, that person's on screen just as a fan service. Everything I felt had enough of a purpose that I never felt like, they're just doing this to please.
There were a couple I liked all the fan servicey parts, but the 2 guys from the bar on New Hope, we're wanted men, like that was all fan service. And then obviously the R2 C-3PO stuff, but that's just a given at this point in Star Wars.
Yeah.
That whenever you're doing a story set outside of the main continuity, you're always going to run into
Yeah.
R2D2 and
It's like
C-3PO.
Vin Diesel saying family in every movie. He's fucking
Exactly.
in.
Like they just are always going to show up. I feel like there was another one too, but I mean Vader isn't really like there's some fan servicey stuff maybe with Vader, but he's pretty central to the plot.
Yeah.
Well, like if I can get a little geeky, obviously we are, but the cartoon that they have going currently, Star Wars
there's
Rebels.
Rebel stuff. Yeah.
There's 2 main ones. The droid Chopper from Rebels is actually in a scene.
You see him rolling
You
by,
can see him cruising by in the
And he
background.
goes like whop.
Yep, and then they reference the pilot Hera Syndulla in over the intercom. She's not actually in the show in Rogue One, but they do reference General Syndulla, and that's a tie-in where she's not General Syndulla in the show yet. But
Wait, what is her name?
Hera?
Harrison.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought it was Harrison. I was like, that's a weird name for a girl.
Harrison
But okay.
Ford.
Harrison
Dula.
Ford
I was
Dula.
really confused for a minute there.
Yeah, no,
She's the
she-
green alien.
She's Twi'lek.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and her dad is the leader of her whatever planet they're on in the Clone
I
Wars.
think it's Planet Twi'lek. I'm not sure though.
Oh, no, it might not be.
Twi'leks.
They're just Twi'leks. Is their race. I don't think it's actually their home planet or whatever. But anyways, the dad back in the Clone Wars TV show from 2008 to 2015, he plays in a couple episodes, and you see a young Hera, and then she's now in this Rebel show, and then they reference her in Rogue One. So it's all gonna tie together. And
yeah.
speaking of Rebels and Rogue One, Saw.
Saw.
I always call him Saul because I want him to talk like this. Saw Gerrera he was a character that was introduced in the Clone Wars TV show for 2 episodes, a 2-episode arc, I believe, and then they brought him into the Rogue One movie, and he's going to show up in Rebels.
Yeah, as like his older version.
Yeah.
You can also see the Ghost, like the Rebel ship, is in a couple shots of Rogue One as well.
Yeah, I forgot to
He's
mention
in
that.
they're in the final like assault. Some people think they maybe died. I can't imagine that's how
I don't know.
Rebels ends. Where it's like, hey kids, just go see Rogue One and you'll know what happened.
Yeah.
They all got killed.
And then Warwick Davis is in it. That's technically fan service.
Oh, who was he?
He plays on Jada. He's the little midget guy.
Oh,
Has
is
the
he?
big face, yeah.
Who like is shooting? He's like got the Vietnam gun.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
he was
has
one of
a
my
little-
favorite parts where
yeah,
he like
like
shoots the leg.
And the
Yeah.
huge grin, yeah.
Yeah, he
little
was
tiny
awesome.
Psychopath.
I loved all the Vietnam stuff on Scarab, like when they had like the hat, the bucket,
Yeah.
or whatever on their head.
It was pretty sweet.
Well, did you guys feel that? Okay, let me actually rephrase this. How did you guys feel about the actual visual style of the film? What I mean by that is, I felt that it was a very dirty-looking film. They went to dusty planets, or they're on the rainy planet, and it seemed like it was, just in the way that they filmed it, they were really trying to give off the I guess the vibe of how dirty their job as rebels, being spies and in the war and stuff. Like I thought it was more than just seeing spies in a war on the screen. I thought there was more playing towards that. Did you guys notice that at all?
I liked the city of Jedha. I thought felt like more of a city than we've ever really seen in Star Wars, like kind of like a grungy city, not a Coruscant. And then I really liked Scarif a lot. I thought Scarif was a very unique, like it was nothing we'd ever really seen in Star Wars before, with like the blue water and the sandy beaches.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like Galen's planet was basically just Camino, and once you go out into the desert in Jedha, it's basically just Tatooine again. But I get what you're saying. There was an element, and certainly in the character designs, I think they really captured the grittiness and the kind of like survival that these characters were having to go through.
Yeah, I think I think we've seen all of the elements that you're discussing in the other movies, but we haven't seen all of them in one. Because I mean, as you said, like Jada's basically Tatooine, like 100%, and Camino's the clone planet. Right?
It was rainy.
Yeah,
they
like,
had
all
like
the time,
lit
just
up
seems like-
platforms. So
Yeah.
it seemed a little Camino to me.
Yeah, I thought like legitimately, I thought Scarif, the planet at the end, was like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's filmed in the Maldives. Like I actually looked it up, and
Oh, interesting.
Like, yeah, and I was like,
that's-
I'm just gonna move.
I
here,
guess
'cause it
I
looks
didn't
like
think that
the
must
most-
have all been locations.
Yeah,
so.
like, legitimately, it's like the most beautiful place on the face of the earth.
If you remember Galen's home planet at the beginning.
Which one's Galen?
That's
Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh, the dad.
The dad.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Jyn Erso, we haven't talked about the characters of the plot at all, but
Yeah.
Jyn Erso's father, Galen, who has been kidnapped, or so he worked for the Empire and then he left, and now he's been coerced into coming back and making the super laser for the Death Star.
Right.
I don't even know the name of the planet that they're actually on when
At the beginning.
at the beginning of the movie, but that was filmed in Iceland.
Yeah.
So you've got this little patch of green where their hut is, and then everything around it looks like scorched earth.
I don't know if that one had a title card either.
It might not have. I'm not 100% sure, but
'Cause I don't know
but
that one's called either. Yeah.
regardless, it was filmed in Iceland. That was the
Yeah.
first day of their shooting. I'm admittedly 100% a Mads Mikkelsen fanboy, and I watched a whole bunch of YouTube stuff of him, and that was his and Ben Mendelsohn being the bad guy. Of course, his name slips my mind right now.
Director Orson Krennic.
Krennic, yeah. Okay. Anyways, their first
I played
day of
Battlefront.
filming together. Their first day of filming was in Iceland. It was those scenes, and it was rainy and it was pissy, but nobody cared because holy shit, we're doing Star Wars. I thought that was super
Yeah,
awesome.
I couldn't imagine caring. I mean, you're getting paid to go to these fucking places. Like,
Exactly.
That sounds
Well,
awesome.
the Mads Mikkelsen, I believe he's Swedish.
Yeah, he's like from there. He just
No, sorry, he's Danish. I think he's yeah.
Sure, I'll buy
But
it.
but regardless, there's like a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Yeah, that's nothing. But I mean, well, I guess he also got to go to the Death Star, which is a pretty big location. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine what
The
craft
sights-
services would have been
the
on that
sights you
scene.
can see.
And he got a dump truck full of money, so you know, like,
Yeah, and the dump truck was made
pretty
of
great.
gold.
Yeah, 2016 was good for him.
Yeah.
And just as an aside, with Mads Mikkelsen, and spoilers again, I hate that this is another movie he dies in. I feel like he's getting up there with I'm
Not a chance.
I'm just
Well, he's
getting
a bad guy. a lot
I'm
of
getting
the
the head
yeah,
shake.
there's no chance with Sean Bean.
Okay,
And
'Cause
I think Sean Bean doesn't have. I think Sam Jackson has the most.
okay,
I think Sam Jackson dies in like outside of the event, like the Marvel movies. He's dead in like every fucking movie.
yeah. I just feel that Mads Mikkelsen dies a lot, and it sucks because I like him in everything he's in.
Yeah, I mean, I like Sean Bean and everything he's in. I'd love to see Sean Bean in Star Wars. I'd be fine with that.
That'd be good, yeah.
He should
He
be.
could be anything. Actually, he's just
He
good.
should be in a movie with Hugh McGregor
He should be
on
Boba Fett.
Obi-Wan.
Ooh, yeah.
He'd be like old Boba Fett.
Okay,
He crawls
so-
out of the Sarlacc.
Yeah.
If I can just totally sidestep, but staying within the Star Wars thing, in my falling down a rabbit hole looking at Star Wars videos and so on and so forth on YouTube, it was pointed out to me, and I never really clued in. Do you remember when Luke goes back to Uncle Owen's house and they're all burnt to shit?
Yes.
There's actually a scene where Darth Vader specifically says to Boba Fett, "You need to stop burning people up."
No disintegration.
Yeah, he's not even hinting. He's basically flat out suggesting that Boba Fett killed Luke's uncle and aunt.
Well, Obi-Wan does also say these blaster marks were from Imperial rifles. So does Boba Fett have an Imperial rifle?
But he could have brought troops with him.
I mean, maybe.
And there's no other flaming, as far as I know, off the top of my head, in 1, 2, or 3. So it's not like they can throw back to a flame trooper squadron.
I don't know.
I just thought that was pretty wild because it's now giving more depth to Boba Fett when you don't really have a lot of depth in the movies.
I don't know. He's all sad because his dad, who was also him, got his head cut off by Sam Jackson.
Yeah, put Captain Solo in the cargo hold.
Yeah, that was really rough.
Oh well,
Fuck, I hated that kid in episode 2.
I'm going through the Clone Wars cartoons. There's 121 episodes. I've watched 62 of them so far. This is my second time going through, I every time they have the clones on, it makes me laugh because there's just one guy doing the voice for every clone.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
I think to myself that he must be the highest paid actor if he's getting paid by word, because he will have conversations with three different versions of him.
Someone gets paid by the word.
I know. But
That's
it's
a big loophole.
but
and it's like Billy West, right? You know, he's just talking to himself all the time on Future.
Well,
he's
that's
the Professor,
true.
he's Zoidberg,
Yeah.
he's Fry.
yeah. Okay, so let's go back to Star Wars. Basically, the plot of Rogue One is Disney / Lucasfilms really felt they needed to fill in the gap to explain why the Death Star had such idiotic weakness in New Hope. So then they built a movie around this. This specific point resulted in Rogue One.
Yeah, that's.
That's pretty much it.
I mean, the movie is the crawl from episode 4.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's the Star Wars war movie. I
Yeah.
liked, which I liked. I liked that they were like, let's have a big battle scene where everyone gets killed and there's no Jedi.
yeah, man, I really thought that Donnie Yen was going to be a Jedi for a second. I
Okay,
was so excited.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I was going to talk about it earlier. Do you think that he is a Jedi? And the reason why I bring this up is because he specifically says there's no Jedi here anymore.
No,
I think he just
he's
stopped.
Force sensitive.
You think?
Yeah.
He's talking about the fact that Jedha was like the Jedi holy place. That
Yeah.
there used to be Jedi there all the time.
Because I don't know why. Just maybe I want it to be obviously, but I just feel like Donnie and his compatriot, the guy whose name I don't remember, the guy with the
Phase
big gun.
Malbus is the big guy with the big gun.
Him.
And then what is Donnie Yen's name? Chirrut Imwe is the blind guy.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll buy that.
I genuinely think those two were Jedis, and then when the Jedi stopped, they stopped.
No, they were like I think I don't know. Another thing I've
Keepers
read
of-
is that
Keepers
people
of the
think
Wills.
this order is gonna end up being very involved in what happened with Luke. Is this is something
The order?
the order that they belong to, where they're like the protectors?
Oh,
of
yeah,
Jeddah.
okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they're actually. They're like the order.
Protector of the Wills.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
Yep.
because they were introduced just in this movie, and like that's kind of an important thing that they just dropped. So
Yeah.
people think that's some setting up to come back in episode 8, or maybe maybe in Luke's backstory. But I think they were just they're like they belong to the Church of the Force, basically, which is another thing they're really setting up in the new series with like what's the orange girl's name? The new Yoda in episode 7.
Oh, Glass Maz
Lupita
Kanata.
Nyong'o.
Yeah, she was talking about that, where like you believe in the Force, but you can't literally use it. I think just because Chirrut was very devout, he was like mildly Force sensitive.
Yeah,
like,
and I mean, I imagine after being around it that much, he probably just attuned a little bit.
yeah, he
to
maybe
this
like
thing.
maybe picked up a couple tricks. You know,
Okay.
like,
Yeah, because I mean,
But I know what you guys are saying, and I totally agree. I don't care. I want them to be Force
That's
sensitive, and or sorry, to be Jedi's, and I want them in another movie as Jedi.
I will say maybe we'll one day see Chirrut as a Force ghost, but that seems unlikely because only Qui-Gon knew how to do that, and he only taught Ben and Yoda is what it seems to be at this point. It's not like just being a powerful Force user is enough. You have to literally learn
yeah, there has to be a thing.
how to do it. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, I guess his Qui-Gon's master knew.
Yeah, it was Darth.
No, Qui-Gon learns it, and then that's how he teaches it to Yoda. That's at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Well, 'cause-
Yoda's been talking to Qui-Gon because Qui-Gon's figured out how to come
Yeah,
back.
I thought
But yeah,
one
it
of
is-
Qui-Gon's old masters taught
It
him.
was Darth Sidious's master.
That's a different thing. You're talking about Plagueis, where he can create life from the Force.
Yeah, but I thought that was in reference to becoming.
No, that's like a Sith.
A whole different
technique.
thing.
That's-
Okay.
yeah.
Never mind then.
I could be wrong. I don't think
Uh-huh.
Qui-Gon. I think Qui-Gon just learned it himself. I don't think
Huh.
Qui-Gon was taught.
Oh, by that.
I don't remember there ever being a reference to Qui-Gon's master.
I don't
I'll
know.
Google it actually.
Qui-Gon's in the Clone Wars cartoon, and they do give a little more detail into him being able to do it.
Is it because his daughter was taken?
Probably, yeah. He has a certain set of skills.
That's but fair. Yeah, I mean,
But I just on Donnie Yen for a second. I thought he was so cool, and he had all of the best Star Wars-esque lines.
in the trailer, he was like full Ip Man Donnie Yen, where he just did like the breathe nod.
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
like,
Oh,
oh wow, it's like the exact same, but he's
Yeah.
not teaching Bruce Lee. He's just
he's
hitting
teaching
people with a
Orsa.
stick.
Yeah.
And I thought it was gonna be a thing where his stick just turned into a fucking lightsaber, and I was like,
the
this is
whole
gonna
time,
fucking happen.
the whole time I'm waiting
was
for it
just-
to
I
be a
was just
double lightsaber, and he just beats the shit
so
out of
excited.
everybody.
So all I wanted was for that to happen.
Yep, the whole time.
And then, I mean, at the end when he's like looking at the thing, and I was like, he's gonna fucking do the thing, and it's gonna fucking shut up.
Yeah,
and then he
he-
just walks out. I was like, oh, that's anticlimactic.
He
Like,
should have used his Schwartz and just flicked the switch
yeah,
from
he's
a
just
distance.
regular fucking dude.
Yeah.
Did they say?
Yes, so Qui-Gon does just learn it. I believe there is an arc at the end of Clone Wars where Yoda learns it from Qui-Gon.
Yeah, it makes
So I
sense.
think they do actually explain. But yeah, I guess Qui-Gon just kind of on his own. It was an old secret, and he just kind of rediscovered it. So it's not like he invented it, but it was
That's
was
fair.
something he was the first of like the new Jedi to figure it out.
He's reading an old Jedi's diary. and then
Exactly,
Oh, right.
pretty much. He was reading an old holocron or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like getting into the actual parts of the movie, 35 minutes into this podcast. I don't know. I think I'm the only one of the 3 people I've talked to or read about that didn't think it was like amazing. And
No, I saw the movie on the Saturday after it came out, and Patrick, you would have seen it on opening night,
I saw it opening.
I guess. And I remember texting you on the Friday saying, "Hey, don't spoil it." Not that you would. I would be the guy to do it.
Yeah,
but
we know.
I texted you and, "Hey, don't spoil it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow," being the Saturday that I went and saw it. And I remember being so excited after seeing it, and your response was probably the most depressing thing ever.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, it's so good. The movie 10 out of 10. It's
You
amazing."
used the term "amazing" twice.
That's
in
how
2
good it
texts.
is to me. And your response was, "It was okay, I guess."
Yeah, it was like,
you
it
were
was
more
fine.
excited than I was.
Yeah,
And I remember making mention of this, not to you, but to a couple other people, where I said, "Okay, well, I can't talk about the new movie with him because he's going to bring me down." And that's why our conversation stopped
Yeah.
that day, and then we talked about other things because I didn't want you to bum me out because I was so excited about it.
And it's not even that. It's not even like it was obviously a well put together movie. I enjoyed that it was not based around the Jedi's. I liked that it was a war movie. I thought like there was a lot of good elements to it. I just like I'm watching the movie and I'm like, I don't know if I like this. Like it was everything about it was really good except I really didn't like Felicity Jones. And she just didn't do it for me. I loved Inigo Montoya Jr. I can't remember his name.
Diego Luna.
Yeah,
Cassian Andor.
That's the
is
one.
The character name.
How do you know all these guys' names? I don't know any
and
of their names.
I remember that specifically because I thought it was Cassian with a K, but it's Cassian with a C.
Yeah.
So the entire time I was saying it incorrectly, I suppose.
I'll
You were
just
saying
polish
Cassian
them
as
off.
opposed to Cassian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The pilot is Bodhi Rook. The Imperial.
I remember Bodhi because
Yeah.
that's Patrick Swayze's
BODHI and then ROOK.
And that's Riz Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed
is his
Yeah.
name.
And then the droid is K2SO.
Yeah.
Alan
Alan
Tudyk.
Tudyk.
Yeah.
So that's the Rogue One crew. That's all of them.
Yeah.
And the bad guy, Orson Krennic, is
Director
obviously
Orson Krennic.
Well,
Ben Mendelsohn.
Who plays Maze?
Maze?
Who plays Baze Malbus?
Or Baze Malbus,
Yeah.
sorry, the big.
He is like a.
Is it Jang?
I recognize him in general. I know he's sort of.
Yeah, I'm just asking
an
because
actor of
you're
note.
like a font of knowledge
Yeah,
for
yeah,
all
I
of this,
The
Honestly,
actors I know
this.
a little less. The character names I learned all of them.
and that's fair.
His name, I will tell you right now, is
I feel like
Wen Jang. So I knew it was Jang. Wen Jang. And Ben Mendelsohn being Orson Krennic. I've only seen him in one other thing, to my knowledge. He was on a Netflix show called Bloodline, and he was the antagonist in the entire first season, and I fucking hated him. He, whether it was the writing of the character or how well he portrayed him, I hated him, and he was one of the reasons I stopped watching the show. So going into this, I was not necessarily hesitant, but I had
you hated his character, or you thought he did a poor job.
He didn't do a poor job at all.
Okay, so you had the same thing with Sons of Anarchy then.
Absolutely, yeah,
And that's completely fair.
Ron
Perlman, it's my boy.
and Katie Seagal were so goddamn good in Sons of Anarchy. I couldn't watch it. As I hate them so much. They've done such a good job. But anyways, Mendelsohn did such a good job as I don't necessarily feel that it was his job to be a flat out bad guy. He was just the antagonist, and
In this or in Bloodline?
sorry, back to Rogue One.
Okay.
And it's kind of like he was putting not necessarily a positive spin, but taking away all of the negativity from the Empire.
I think you just saw he was like how they did their stuff day to day. Like he wasn't a mustache twirling villain.
Yeah.
He was just like middle management. You know, like he was
That's
just,
exactly
he had a
it.
project and he was just getting it done. And really, he was more invested in like keeping his own power within the Imperial structure than anything else. Like
Yeah.
And he really wanted the credit.
which I think is why you needed Tarkin in the movie, is to kind of show that play between them. So I liked him. He's also in a movie called Animal Kingdom, which I really liked, where he's also sort of the villain in that, where it's like a criminal family and he's sort of like the bad uncle who gets out of jail and fucks everything up when he comes up.
Yeah.
Really good movie.
He's in a Pool Shark movie with Ryan Reynolds called Mississippi. It's not pool at all. It's gambling. Never mind.
He was
it's,
also in
it's called
Dark.
Mississippi Grind.
Oh, yeah, I heard
Yeah.
I was going to watch it, but...
He's the guy who hires Bane to come to Gotham in Dark Knight Rises as well.
Oh, cool.
Do you feel like you're in charge? He's that guy.
Oh, nice.
Where Bane shows
Oh,
up.
there you go.
Yeah, I don't think... Like, I wouldn't say his character was a villain at all. Like, I think...
Zach's got it.
Yeah,
he's
like,
middle management.
Yeah, he's like the guy that doesn't buy into the Empire being the villains, and he's like, I just want to move up. That's all I wanna
Exactly,
do.
he's the guy who's following orders.
Yeah,
Like he's not thinking. He doesn't care about. I actually like his line at the start where he's like, where he's talking to Galen. Galen's like, "You're gonna rule the galaxy through terror," and he's like, "Well, you gotta start somewhere."
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of the beginning of it and lines he has, Galen has just told Orson that, "Oh, my wife's dead," and Orson says, "Oh, that's such a shame. My condolences." Search the place. You know, like he's not buying into Galen's lies at all, and he's got his job. He knows what he needs to do, and he's gonna do it.
Yeah, he was probably, I mean, outside of Donnie Yen, probably my favorite part of the movie, just because I couldn't hate him throughout the entire thing.
Yeah,
I
you
was
got
like,
where he was coming from.
yeah, I was
exactly.
like, yeah. I mean,
You're like in his position. If I had gotten to where I was in my life and where I'd be doing what he's doing for sure. He's just trying to like keep his mistakes in line. You know, like
Yeah, and then some Weasley fuck shows up and he's like, yeah, all the work you've been doing, I'm taking over.
Yeah.
So it's all so that you really get the animosity between Tarkin and him.
And he blows him up at the end. I love that Tarkin's just like, yeah, well, sorry, Orson.
Yep.
I feel like director Krennic and Jyn Erso, I know you didn't like Felicity Jones, but I felt like they were both a little underwritten, but Ben Mendelsohn and Felicity Jones managed to bring a lot to those characters. More so Jyn Erso, I feel like, is not... They don't give her a lot to do, but
No.
I read an interesting thing where Felicity Jones was like working with ballerinas and really focused on the way that Jyn was like moving, and that's how she... So that's what I actually like about it. I think she looks really good. Like, she looks like an action hero.
Well, I've reason to believe that there's like literally an entire movie's worth that didn't make it to the final cut.
Yeah, the first trailer is all stuff that does not end up in the movie.
yeah.
And in an interview, Mendelsohn, he does make mention that there's so much other stuff. And then on top of that, I read a brief interview with the director, Gareth Edwards. He flat out says that he really struggled at the beginning because he didn't think Disney would let him kill off everybody. And they had a not necessarily a script, but a running idea where all of these characters survive. Because the look on Patrick's face is one
So
of
much
disgust and
worse.
stupidity. Because it would be a stupid idea for Disney to say, no, you can't kill anybody. And Disney knew not to do it. So once Disney gave over the reins and said, whatever you need to do to get us from the end of episode 3 to the beginning of episode 4, do it. And the subsequent killing of literally everybody in this movie, I think
Darth Vader doesn't die.
on the inside.
Yeah, so
He's
the number of
already dead on the
named
inside.
characters who live, though, is pretty low. You got Vader, Tarkin, Bail Organa, and Mon Mothma, maybe.
Yeah.
And Leia. And I guess, like, the two guys...
And Gold Leader. Survives.
The two dudes that meet up with Luke.
Yeah.
All the newly introduced main characters in Rogue
And-
One,
and
they
all
all
the,
die,
like-
is what I'm saying.
There's even, like, minor rebel figures that get introduced. Like, there's the not Akbar... I can't remember what his name is, but...
He's a Mon Calamari, yeah.
Yeah, that guy, and then there's like a guy with a 70s porn stash who's like a rebel fighter that gets...
He looked good.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one of the things in the filming of it was they specifically said, we need you guys to have big bushy sideburns, big 70s stashes, because we need this to flow into the look of...
I love that they stuck
New
with that. They're like, that wasn't just because we filmed this movie in the 70s. That's what the fashion was in the
Yep.
universe at the time.
Yep.
I love that kind of retroactive thing. I thought that was great.
I wanted to see a young Admiral Akbar, not Admiral, but a young Akbar. I wanted to see him like as a badass teen
As
type
like a
thing.
painter, you know?
Yeah, just like walking around with like a leather jacket, like trying to stick it to the man type thing. I thought that would have been
Playing with a
super fun.
switchblade?
Something, yeah, you know.
See, I see him having a beret and writing poetry. Like, I see young Akbar being very...
There are two of the Mon Calamaris in the movie, and they only reference the name of one of them.
Yeah, but
So is the
neither
guy-
one was the color. I don't know if their color changes.
I would
when-
say if they're in the
with age.
movie, they probably aren't Akbar because they all died.
Yeah.
if they were at
No,
the...
they don't die.
If
No,
they're at the end, no, the Mon Calamari at the ship at the end dies.
Yeah,
He gets blown up when Vader
definitely
shows up.
does.
oh, I thought they warp out of there.
No, there's a few people that warp out, but most people get ripped apart by Vader and the big capital ship.
Yeah,
doesn't
that's the
warp
big
out.
thing is it tears apart all of the
Oh.
the
That's
remnants
why
of
it
the-
couldn't have been Akbar. Essentially, it was the first time I watched. I'm like, why isn't this Akbar? But it's because he was going to
Yeah,
get
it's
because they were going to
dead.
lose this fight.
Yeah, and then
Well,
Akbar
it-
stood up.
Speaking of the fight, I thought it was so cool that they used the one Star Destroyer to destroy the other Star Destroyer.
That's pretty sweet.
That was the best
Oh.
literal use of the
With the
starship.
hammerhead, yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. How cool was that?
Um,
And I guess just in a throwback to the Star Wars Rebels, the cartoon, the Rebel forces get the Hammerheads thanks to the Rebels crew.
Which is also originally from the Knights of the Old Republic game.
Yep.
the hammerhead.
Yep,
Take you guys' word for it. I don't know.
that's Malik and Darth Revan. Yeah,
Sure.
the Knights of the Old Republic games are so dope.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
I never
think
played them. I
describe-
just know that's what it's from.
I don't describe anything as dope, so I don't know.
I actually regret saying that.
Well, that's
I
fair.
regret saying the word dope.
Can't go back in time.
I know.
So yeah, I mean, like everything that we're saying, like all of these elements of the movies, I genuinely enjoyed. I really did. Outside of Felicity Jones, and I know it's not her fault, I just thought like her character to me was the most frustrating, and like just the movie itself, it just like didn't hit me as much as I wanted it to, and that's probably it, because visually it was amazing, the music was great. The acting was good. The storyline was good. The fact that people went into the movie and thought that characters were going to live is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, the crawl of episode 4 is thousands of people died.
I'll be honest, I thought Jin was going to live. I thought we would probably see Jin again.
I-
And maybe Jin and Cassian would run off, and maybe K2 would get like his brain put in a new body or something.
His death was pretty bad.
They did a good job because like I came into the movie being like they're not going to kill everyone, and I don't like that. And then by the end of the movie, I was like, I don't want them to kill everyone. Like I want my team to go on another mission because they had done such a good job. I thought of giving everyone a unique personality, and like they only all came together really for the final mission,
They did, yeah.
which
Well,
I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
A weird ending for Cassian and Jin. They had enough time to get from the top of the spire, with the satellite, all the way down to the ground, all the way to the beach. It seems like they probably
I mean, there was
could have
beach
had enough,
everywhere, to be fair.
but they could have had enough time to just get on a ship and fucking go.
They were on an elevator. What do you mean? Like it didn't take that long to get down to the bottom.
I guess.
and I mean, like,
They literally just got down, and then they could see the blast. So there's no.
I feel like with the blast coming at them from one direction, they could just fly the other direction like they did an hour before in the movie.
Well, they were already in a ship at that point, though.
They were, yeah. I mean, I'm not... despite the fact that I enjoyed all the characters, I liked Diego Luna's character. I thought he was great. I thought
Me
he
too.
Was, I thought he was awesome.
And I've not seen him in anything else, I don't think.
He was in that movie.
Yeah, I love that one. It's
I don't
really
know.
good.
I thought it was good.
Okay, sweet.
I didn't necessarily want them to die either. I thought that K2SO's death was awesome. I thought his death was like
He was great.
super intense in the movie. As a character, I didn't really like him all that much because, like, C-3PO for the past 40 years has kind of been programmed to, well, not programmed, but he's been written and he's like kind of sassy, but not really. And K2SO is apparently just programmed to be a piece of shit to everybody all the time.
Well, they say that he doesn't have a filter because
Yeah.
they hacked his brain.
Yeah.
So, like, that's basically why he's an asshole.
Yeah.
So he usually, like, a droid would have like a "don't be a dick"
Yeah.
thing and chip in their head, and that's just fried for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And what literally that means, I don't know, but that's why he's really only mean to Jin, but
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
he actually seems genuinely caring towards Cassian the whole time.
it's because he loved. Well, and he's never like even remotely rude to anyone else. Like,
No.
I guess he just says he doesn't want to bring them.
yeah.
He probably hates women.
Yeah.
That's
so
what I think he's in
really-
love with Cassian, and he's
Yeah,
worried
he's
that Jin's gonna.
Yeah.
Take him
Robosexual.
away. This is actually them. Cassian and Jin dying is a good moment to get back to my theory from before, which I actually have to give credit to. This is Shannon, my fiance's theory. So Jin has a Kaiba crystal on her necklace, right?
Yeah.
So that Kaiba crystals are what the Jedi use to make their lightsabers, and that's an important part of Jedi training. Now in Episode 8, we're going to be seeing Rey's, Jedi training. We know that Jedha got destroyed. That's where most of the Kyber crystals were. Where they're going to find a Kyber crystal, they're going to go to Scarif and pull one off of, like,
Oh, cool.
Jin and Cassian's skeletons are going to be, like, hugging,
Ooh.
atomic bomb style, and Luke's going to, like, the Force is going to tell him that
The
there's
Force Google Maps them there.
is the Kyber crystals on Scarif. And,
Now,
and
just
that's going to be the Rogue One connection, I think.
That'd be kind of badass.
speaking of Kyber crystals, this dawned on me the third time I saw it. I didn't clue in the first two times. There's a big point in the movie. The Empire is on Jeddah because they're mining Jeddah for the Kyber crystals to power the Death Star, which tells me that the Death Star is literally shooting a lightsaber laser out of it. And I never put the two together.
Pretty much, yeah. It's using the same science, at least, is what...
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and knowing how powerful the lightsaber is, I can't even fathom. Obviously, we see the destructive capability of the Death Star's laser, but relating it on a literally a personal level, like the actual size of a person, and then comparing it to a planet, it made it so much more intense to me. anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read too much on it, but they don't use them for the Starkiller base, right?
I don't think they really said what the Starkiller base
Correct.
actually was. They might, maybe in like the visual dictionaries or stuff, they've gotten into what actually went into that. It didn't. It's no, because like the Starkiller base was using the planet's core
Yeah.
as an energy source, and that's what the kyber crystals would be. They'd be an energy source. So I imagine that they were not using those.
Makes
Also,
sense.
because it'd be really hard to get through this.
Yeah.
One would think.
Yeah.
And are we to assume, in obviously having seen the movie, we know that Jeddah gets blown up.
Well, they only blew up the city.
Yeah.
And that's what I was
Yeah.
going to ask. Is whatever planet they're on? I don't know what planet Jeddah's actually on.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I
But
thought that was the plan.
It might have actually been the
I
planet.
thought it was
and
Jeddah.
then
I thought it was Jeddah
It was
City.
just like
City.
Jeddah City on Jeddah. I don't know.
okay, so let's go with that then. So hypothetically, couldn't they just mine the planet Jeddah, which could relate again to the tie-in?
Yeah, it
You know,
did.
they could go back to it and see these ruins.
They did. They blew up a mine, but was that the only mine on
Yeah.
Jeddah? It really wasn't clear. So that might be an in. You know, maybe if we're like past episode 9, we're getting like a second generation of Jedi. Maybe they'll go back to Jeddah or something.
Or
but-
it could be like a lost planet now or something they have to
Yeah.
find. Cause
This is, I mean, it's interesting that we can even have these sorts of conversations about Star Wars, about like what's going to be happening in the future after, you know, for so long there was no hope of new developments ever. So on that level alone, I'm happy. I'm happy with the new Disney status quo of a movie a year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, well, because, I mean, in episode 7, they said that Luke he went back and found, like, the first planet of the Jedi. And wasn't that Jeddah?
What? No. So Luke is looking for the first Jedi temple.
Temple. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's looking for the temple.
And the planet that he was on, I guess at the end of 7 was that planet. We didn't necessarily know that that's true.
Yeah.
At the very least, that's where he was.
They at the end of 7, beginning of filming of 8, they named the planet, and it's not Jeddah, as far as I know. They did provide a name for it in, you know, on Twitter or wherever the hell they did it, but they did give a little clarification, and it's not Jeddah, as far as I know. It
That's
could be
fair.
It could be a throwaway. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was at the planet, but that makes sense.
Well, that would be an easy way to tie them all in. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, Luke goes back to Jeddah.
Yeah.
Voila.
I'm always intrigued about. Not intrigued. That's the wrong word. There's always parts of all of the Star Wars movies that I think are just the most redundant and ridiculous. Like in Episode 7, when Rey is looking for Luke, and then she lands at the bottom of this fucking mountain, and then has to climb the mountain for some reason. Like, you're in a fucking spaceship. Land on the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
What's the problem? I like that they didn't necessarily do that as much in this one, because there wasn't a need for it. Like, everything that they were doing kind of had a purpose, and I thought that was pretty great. I thought, like, Cassian as a character, despite the fact that, like, none of the characters were, like, they were already characters that were basically created and we were just kind of, like, thrown into it. I enjoyed that he was kind of a fucking dick throughout the entire thing. Like, him shooting that one guy at the very beginning and killing him, and then, like, you know, scaling up and running away and stuff.
I think that was meant to show the grittiness of the
Yeah.
rebel side was as guilty as the Empire side.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
maybe for the right motivation, I guess.
Well, or a different motivation, whatever. Like,
Yeah, different.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not say right or wrong.
um,
But yeah, I mean, they really, I felt, drove that home in this movie by, you know, providing the rebels, rather a view into the rebel cause, I guess.
yeah, and I mean, like when he gives that little speech at, you know, the 4/5 of the way through the movie about how, you know, we've all done bad things, we've all killed people, we've all done this. I was like, yeah, you killed someone like fucking 2 hours ago.
Do you remember when you did that?
Yeah, and I thought every like good speech in the movie was given from him. I thought, like,
Actually, Jyn Erso's "Take a Chance" speech was pretty damn good.
I thought it seemed really forced, considering that she came to, you know, the rebellion or whatever 3 days prior, and has like zero influence whatsoever, and she's like, no, it's all about, you know, having hope and doing this and all that random shit that she says. If I was in there, I'd be like, who are you? Why are you here? Like,
Actually,
what?
when she's presenting her case to the rebel senator,
leaders.
whoever
Yeah,
they are.
the-
Yeah, I remember.
Council.
I remember hearing one of the random voices in the background was like, "Who is she? What does she have to say?"
Yeah.
and that really it struck home to me because you are right. She kind of shows up out of nowhere, and
Completely randomly.
and furthermore, her dad is a super bad guy.
Well,
as
no.
far as the rebels know.
Well,
That's
Like-
what I mean. That's the whole point of the meeting is they just don't know whether to believe
yeah.
this info from Galen Erlin or Galen Urso that they are all not only not getting directly from him,
Yeah.
but from his daughter who
Mhm.
was supposed to be dead. You know, and like
And they
but I
read
mean, I
like
guess
a
the rebels.
laundry list of shit that she's done wrong at the beginning of the movie. Like they have no reason to go along with her whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
I guess that's kind of the point of like the message got blown up, right? So it's only she
Yeah.
earns Cassian and the crew's respect, and then like later, like more of the rebels' respect through her actions, but she doesn't literally have the like otherwise the whole fleet would have gone to Scarif
yeah,
right away.
yeah, and that, like, it. I mean, that set up for the big speech that Cassian gave, and I thought that was awesome. But it was just a really. I mean, I've voiced my frustrations to Uzak about Jyn Erso's character, about how she like hates the Alliance and then hates the Empire, and doesn't care. She just wants to she basically wants to be a female Han Solo and just like do her thing and move forward. And then she sees that goddamn video of her dad and immediately flips and says like we have to stop them, but they don't really they don't say anything. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen's character says, like, I did this for a reason, this is, I named it after you, and this, he doesn't say that, but he does, whatever. Like, all he says all these things, but he doesn't say, like, the Empire needs to be stopped.
I guess what I would say is she before the moment where Saw shows her the like message is she thought her dad was a traitor, and maybe that kind of informed her worldview. Like she literally thought her dad was working with the Empire,
Maybe.
whereas the minute she hears that, she's like, "Oh no, he's spent his whole life fighting for this thing, sort of indirectly fighting for me." And then, I mean, at that point, it really only becomes about saving her father. It isn't until he dies that it becomes about stopping the Empire.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
And then it's a big revenge mission.
Yeah.
It's actually Kill Bill Volume 3.
Basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, the biggest... I have, like, no issues with this movie. I think it's fantastic from start to finish. But the biggest issue I have with the series in general, if you guys recall, in Rogue One, when she goes up the elevator on the big tower, and she has to align the satellite, she goes out on this headway that is catwalk that's 10, 15, 20 meters long. It is railings. By the time we get to the Starkiller base in Star Wars Episode 7, there is a 100+ meter catwalk that Han Solo falls off of. That there's no hand railings. Did they have budgetary cutbacks?
That's one of the main
Empire?
differences between the First Order and the Empire. The old Empire is the First Order doesn't believe in railings.
Yeah,
They won't stand for railings.
Yeah.
And rub railings.
And let me tell you, it genuinely drives me nuts because you have to think if Han Solo had a railing, he might not have died. He's got a lightsaber.
He's gonna die.
I mean, but Chewie could have gone down, and Han Solo's hanging off the hand railing. Chewie gets him a med pack. He
mean,
might survive.
You gotta think at that point in time with Han Solo, like Harrison Ford he's 6 feet plus. He's falling over that railing either way.
Maybe
Unless
not.
they do like fucking like baby railings where it's like above his head and it's like bars. Like he's falling over.
His insides were cooked at that point. I don't know if there
Yeah.
was much they did.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you're missing the bigger point here. The First Order just has zero concern for their
They
workers.
didn't have a lot of railings in
New Hope.
Yeah,
New Hope Forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels to me like
So it's really
Rogue One really informed them that we're spending too much money. There's budgetary
railings are just
cutbacks,
as dangerous.
but
as
we
without,
definitely
yeah.
need those colored cubes on our
Yeah, they're metal
shirts
They're
to
metal.
to show us our rank.
Ranks, yeah, that makes sense.
We need them, but we don't need to have railings.
I think what it shows us is that Krennic was the railing guy, and as soon as he died,
There's his
There
middle
is-
management job.
no more railings.
His official title, Director of Railings.
Oh,
that was
my
just
God,
something he did, and no one really realized. They're like, oh, once he died, they're like, well, the railings are gone. I thought someone was putting up the railings, and then like a couple of years later, like, must have been Orson. He was watering the plants. He was putting up the railings. Oh man, we shouldn't have
That would
blown
be
that guy
awesome.
up.
That's hilarious.
I feel like that gives a whole new spin to his character, and I feel like I should watch the movie from his point of view.
That's
Just-
awesome.
I would like an office style show that is just Orson in his day to day life. You know,
Or
Just like stamping
solving
things.
problems.
Even if it was like a 10-minute internet short of him being the director of operations, where and specifically have him make mention of the railings.
there
That'd
you
be
go,
awesome.
exactly.
I was kind of like, just as a personal thing, into a segue into 4, I was kind of hoping they were going to discuss what that fucking creature was in the trash compactor.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Because they're just like, why is this random monster in this thing? Like, I don't understand.
Guarantee we will get that explained one day. Because you're right. That is like, why did they have a monster?
As a related aside, one of the things that they debated putting in Rogue One was what the hell a Nerf is, because the insult from episode
we
5.
almost had
Nerf
Nerf
herder.
herders.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
almost had
they
Nerf
were
herders.
going to put in what a Nerf is, and then it didn't flow with the rest of the movie or whatever the case is. But they had originally planned on putting in a Nerf to let people know.
We did get blue milk though. Did you
Yep.
catch it at the start of the
I
movie?
thought it was more green, but I was on board with
It
it
was
either
blue.
way.
It was blue. Totally blue.
Yeah, okay, sure, whatever.
Classic blue milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's very positive on one side, mostly positive on the other side.
Yeah,
But,
I would say I think up until Scarif, it's a good to okay movie. I think it's a little slow. Scarif onward is perfect. Like the best Star Wars battle scene of the whole series.
Yeah, I can't even
The-
disagree.
one
with
of my
that.
favorite sections of a movie of this year is the Scarif battle scene. One of my favorite battle scenes in any movie. I would say I just loved it. Like it was exactly what I wanted. It was a Star Wars war movie, especially in the Scarif sequence.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that, to be honest.
I will obviously be the most positive review from beginning to end. I guess I went into it with the right mentality because I knew that the end of episode 3 had really spelled out the limitations that this movie had to work with, and knowing that they had all these beats that they had to hit, and then they had to finish at the starting note of episode 4 New Hope. The movie was basically written out from front to back. They just had to fill in the space in between without making it boring, with making you relate. Like when Zach said, at first, the characters, I didn't know them, but then by the end I didn't want them to die. They made the characters relatable. They explained the plot, or sorry, the plot was explained rather, but how they did it, just with such limitations on this movie, never once did I feel like they called it in, or it was a half-baked operation. It's honestly, it's a 10 out of 10 for me, knowing what they had to work with. I have, other than the railings, which is like top of my complaint list.
Which is really only complaints with other movies. This movie did have railings,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have no issues with it. The soundtrack was killer, and it wasn't John Williams.
It's
No.
Michael Giacchino.
Yeah.
And interesting aside, he's worked with J.J. Abrams for every J.J. Abrams movie
He did
except
Lost.
for Star Wars 7.
Which people didn't really like the James Williams.
John Williams.
John Williams. There you go.
Yeah.
John Williams, Episode 7 score. I like. I have the Rogue One soundtrack in the car right now. It's very good. I like it a lot.
Interesting.
It's just like military Star Wars. It's maybe a little bland, but I enjoy it.
And I'm not. I want to clarify my 10 out of 10. It's not like my favorite movie ever. It's not the best movie ever. But just knowing what they had to work with, 10 out of 10 is the best way for me to give them all of the credit that they so genuinely deserve.
That's fair.
I can't think of a single actual, the railings aside, a single actual complaint with the way they pulled off the movie, knowing what they had to work with.
Completely fair. I can't even say that I had a complaint with it either. Even Jenner, so who I've said multiple times in this that I was my least favorite part of the movie, she was fine. Like I had no real issue with her, and I don't know if I was expecting more or if I was expecting something different, or the fact that they anyone who pays attention or who thought about it knew exactly what the movie was going to be, and that's.
Well, I remember we had a text conversation the Thursday before it came out, and we discussed exactly what the movie was going to be.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen the trailers, I hadn't read about it, so I didn't know. But knowing what they had to work with already, I knew what it was going to be.
Yeah, I think in theory it's probably not even a complaint with the movie. It's a complaint with the fact that everything gets revealed. Like, so many people want to know everything. 18 months ahead of time? Like, when did the first trailer come out for this movie?
Yeah, I know.
Forever
That's.
ago.
I mean, it's almost like that's a problem with us. Like, no one is making me read those stories, but
Yeah.
there's just so much information.
I
out there.
didn't. Just as an aside, the new Alien Covenant trailer is out.
We'll talk about that later.
And all I'm going to say is I didn't watch it, and I don't want to watch it because I want to go into it only knowing what I have from Alien 1, 2, 3, 4 and Prometheus. I'm sick of how much everybody reveals everything, as you say. So when I went into Rogue One, I knew what I knew from these 7 movies and the Clone Wars cartoon and the Rebels cartoon, so I was able to form my own opinions, and then comparing those opinions to what the movie makers actually did, I thought that was half the fun for me.
And yeah, and as Zach said, it is my fault for reading on it or looking on it or whatever. The trailer for me specifically was very frustrating because they fucking say we have to steal the plans of the Death Star. Like, they say that in the trailer, and I'm like, oh, you gave away the entire plot of the movie with a single line, and that is the worst possible thing that could be done. I mean, the trailer for Alien Covenant, did you see that one
I
yet?
did watch it,
okay.
yeah.
They don't give anything away. I mean,
Yeah.
you've seen Alien. Okay, cool. And that's all I need, a lot of trailers are, they're like any Civil War movie, or like a Marvel movie, if you don't know the mythos behind it, it's just kind of cool, it's really pretty, there's a lot of beautiful things, Spider-Man flips upside down and punches someone in the face. Cool. They don't really tell you anything. Whereas in this, it was they said everything that was going to happen. Oh, all right. I guess. I mean, they obviously, glossed over it and it wasn't the entire movie, but when they tell you the base plot line, it's very frustrating to me.
It was sort of a tough thing with this, because that was also, the selling point was that it's this is the story of the Rogue One plans,
Yeah.
the Death Star plans, but you do know at some level they must succeed. What I liked in the movie is the Galen putting the flaw in, that I didn't see that coming, and it seemed like I should have seen that coming, that was going to be what the movie ended up being about, but that it ended up being pretty natural, and they really didn't promote that part of it in the trailers at all, which I liked. It's a nice little neat retcon where it makes a lot more sense.
It was.
That whoever was designing the Death Star was specifically trying to give it a blow up button,
Yeah.
Coming up on 40 years of, this huge giant planet of doom.
Yeah.
There's a simple weakness, why don't they just have a self-destruct button?
Yeah.
Like in Spaceballs. But as you say, the retcon to be able to go back and really spell out why it happened and the motivation behind it, again, 10 out of 10 flawless for me.
And that's, yeah.
And I should clarify, I'm a Star Wars nerd. And I didn't think I was as big of a nerd as I was until, I'm getting choked up in the middle of Rogue One when the characters are starting to, they're succeeding in their missions and they're getting killed off. I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want these guys to die. I'm with them in the rebellion. I'm they're holding my hand and walking me through this. I don't want them to die. I'm like, oh shit, this sucks.
I don't want to say I'm pro-Empire, but, I like wearing brown.
Hey, the trains ran on time.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Say what you will about Emperor Sidious, but the trains ran on time.
That's all that
That's
matters.
Watto's grandpa. It's grandson.
Well, there's that one line that between Saw Gerrera and Jyn Erso. Saw Gerrera says something to the effect of, could you handle seeing the Empire flag fly in the sky every day? And Jyn Erso's just like, I just won't look up.
Yeah.
There you go. It doesn't matter. Okay.
I felt like his character, that would probably be one of my basic problems with the movie. They didn't really develop him very much. I like the idea of him where he was sort of like a rebel Darth Vader, he was all, his body had gotten all chopped up, and he was more machine than man or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was the outcome of the war, but he was just barely in the movie, and he didn't really do anything. He had
He's
this
like 5
weird
minutes tops.
mind-reading rape tentacle alien that doesn't really...
Yeah. Yeah, they don't come back to that at all.
It doesn't even matter, because, they know he's telling the truth because he has the message.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I guess it was just a show that Bodhi Rook was somewhat resilient.
Yeah.
Don't get that at all.
Yeah.
The start of the movie is a little jumbled, I feel like.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I think. Yeah, what they did with him for me, he was just like to show the
Him
lengths
being
that they
who?
were willing to go. Soccer.
He's also sort of like the canon connector, right? Like he was in Clone Wars, and then obviously, like you were saying, they're putting him in Rebels, so he's
And Forrest
he's-
Whitaker's actually voicing him.
Yeah, he's tying the timelines together. So like that was sort of a neat. I definitely like the idea of them taking stuff out of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So
His-
hopefully we will see more of this.
The simple background, in case you don't know, in Clone Wars, him and his sister are defending the planet because their parents have gotten killed, and they're part of their own little rebel faction. And the Obi-Wan and Anakin help them, and the sister ends up dying. And
I think in that one it's actually Ahsoka gets like embedded with them, and then Ahsoka and Saw's sister have a little bit of a love triangle with like there's like a senator boy that Ahsoka has a crush on.
You were so right.
Yeah.
You were so right.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they actually reference Saw's sister in Rogue One as well. When Cassian and Jin get to the planet, the plan is that they're going to go meet Saw's sister, and like maybe telling the sister that they have Jin will be enough to get word to Saw, but then they just end up getting captured by Saw anyways. So it's nice little Clone Wars nods there. I definitely like. I mean, it's the nice thing about there being one movie a year and them being really tight on what actually makes it into canon is they're able to do these neat little like sly references and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
Greg Grunberg's character in Episode 7, he's just one of the pilots in one of the X-Wing pilots. The Star Wars Aftermath novels are like about him as a kid with like his mom who was like fought at Endor, and he like built this robot out of like a droid, like a battle droid that has all these bones on it. It's like an assassin droid. Really great book.
Oh, really?
Star Wars Aftermath. I would recommend it. It's just fun little canon stuff. Like they're making him into a new Wedge Antilles.
Oh,
They learn their lessons from the EU. I feel like.
they actually do reference Antilles in Rogue One over the intercom, just like they did with General Syndulla. They do page Antilles.
I remember that
Yep.
actually. Addendum, I do have a problem with the movie. Forrest Whitaker's voice just annoyed the shit out of me.
It's super weird though. He doesn't do it at the beginning when he opens up the hatch. He's like,
Well, I assume it's probably,
the robot
yeah,
and
he
it
had
builds
some-
it over
he's-
time.
Yeah, something's happened. Which we might literally see on Rebels.
And
like,
if we do, that changes the entire thing.
And
but his weird
they
they
are-
are sucking helium out of this thing.
they're
it makes it
actually they're
weird.
totally going to spell it out why he is the way he is.
Well,
He's
yeah.
going to have a multiple episode arc. And
Yeah, he gets like fucked up somehow.
the cool thing is it's on Geonosis, the bug planet
Oh,
from
cool.
Attack
Yeah.
of the Clones.
yeah.
Cool.
They do like Rebels is cool and Clone Wars. They do lots of cool like mythology
Well,
stuff like that.
I'm now caught up on Star Wars Rebels. They have throwbacks to Attack of the Clones. They have throwbacks to the Clone Wars cartoon. Like Rebels takes place in the same time frame as Rogue One, in case you don't know, in between episode 3 and 4. So there's one episode. Rex, one of the clones, has survived Order 66, and he's part of the Rebel squad, and they go to a planet that has a whole bunch of abandoned droids. The same the Roger droids from Attack of the Clones. They're starting to reference all this stuff even more than they did before, which is so cool. They're taking all of the different movies and cartoons and stuff, and they're really tying them together in a really good way. I feel.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of everything they're doing.
The Darth Vader comic book series also does that really well. Where it will blend like it takes place after Episode 4, but it'll blend stuff from the prequel era. And there's a whole bit where Darth Vader has to go fight this like crazy Geonosis bug queen who like can't produce soldiers anymore, so she's like hooked up these droid making machines to make like bug droids that are like her new followers. It's really good.
And the Bug Queen is in Clone Wars. Obi-Wan and Anakin. They don't kill her, but they cave in her cave. In one episode, because she's making weird zombie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that one's good too.
Yeah,
It's a good episode.
it's so good.
Realistically, I'll look at it eventually. I
should find there's a list you can watch because like there's a lot of like Jar Jar arcs and stuff you can skip. There's a list someone made where it's just like these are the episodes if you're really having trouble making it through. These are the ones you need to watch.
Well, there's also a list that, for whatever reason, which to this day I don't understand, the Clone Wars cartoons, they don't play in order
Yeah, they're not really chronological. It's
at
kinda
all.
Weird.
So there's one episode where Anakin's Padawan is like a 15-year-old girl with a single lightsaber. The next episode, she's like 20 plus years old, looks different, and has 2 lightsabers. And then it goes back to her being 15, kind of thing.
So it's just like
it's hopping all around.
just generic stories throughout the.
But no, because
Mostly what it is there's like a Senate bombing that happens, and that kind of is where the timeline places. So like you'll have episodes that will take place before or after this bombing. There's kind of this whole plan where there's this bounty hunter Cad Bane, and he's kidnapped
Ridley.
someone. Yeah, there was a big rumor that he was going to be in Rogue One. Actually, he's like this blue
Oh, I heard the name from
cowboy
you.
guy. Yeah,
there you go.
but he's great. I love him.
Me too.
I would love him to end up, but yeah. And then there's this whole like kind of betrayal, like someone has betrayed the Republic. That's mainly what the running story is. For the most part, it does go in order, but there are a couple. Like once a season, there will be an episode that took place way in the past or way in the future. So it is nice to kind of know what. But if you're paying attention, you should be able to tell.
On the Star Wars website, there's a full list actually ordering what episodes go in what order.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to find out why it was actually done that way.
And that's what I mean. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
And in my the first time I watched it from front to back, I watched it in episodic order. So season 1, episode 1, 2, etc. This time I'm watching it in the actual chronological order. They mean the episodes to go in, and it is filling in a few gaps for me. I'm not gonna lie. For the most part, I got it the first time, but you know, when you see a character in, say, like the 10th episode, and then they come back to him in the 90th episode, you're like, oh shit, I don't remember what was going on.
There is a
here.
lot of like you're supposed to be remembering threads
Yeah,
like, across
yeah.
a long time.
This made it a lot simpler.
That's fair.
So, because there's hundreds of characters you need to keep track of, and it's mind-numbing.
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones in space.
Yeah.
Right, well, I think that's probably summed up the movie decently well. Actually, we didn't really talk about the movie that much at all, to be honest.
We just talked Star Wars.
Yeah, which is, fair.
Talking
But
wars.
we talked a lot about the movie. We talked about the plot and some of the actors and motivation. We got a lot covered.
Diego Luna is really all that mattered for me. So, I mean, 10 out of 10 for you. Maybe on its own scale of 10.
Yeah, not 10 out of 10 in the general colloquial sense of it, but for what it needed to accomplish, it did so flawlessly, in my opinion.
And that's fair. And
I would say good movie, great Star Wars movie, if that makes sense. Like as in the context of being like a piece of Star Wars lore, and like within the context of Star Wars, I loved it. It was new and fresh. As a movie this year, it was good. I liked it. It had some problems, but it had a great ending. One of the more memorable movies I saw this year.
That's fair. And I'm going with, for some reason, didn't like it as much as I should have. Well done movie, but So, I mean, I guess we can probably sign this one off for the time being. We might even come back to it later on. We seem to, dip our toes in every now and again on everything that we talk about. Final thoughts for the episode? Anyone?
I look forward to the new Han Solo movie out next year.
Yeah, Space Cowboys. Not 2 years.
Sorry, 2018.
Read a rumor that it's going to get pushed up instead of December. No, that it's going to get pushed back. It was going to be May 2018, and now people think it's going to be December 2018.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And we'll see episode 8 this year. At the end of this year, December 17th, I think the release is.
Making my prediction, guys. May the 4th, episode 8 trailer.
That's good.
You
That's
can
good.
write that down.
And I'm going to purposely not watch it because I don't want to know.
I'm going to watch it 1 billion times.
Yeah.
We're going to have our hour-long podcast dissecting the 2-minute trailer.
Oh, yeah. Have you heard that podcast where they do, minutes of Star Wars? I think it's called Star Wars by the Minute.
I have not.
You probably love it.
I probably will. Okay, bros. We'll talk in the next podcast.
Yeah, see you guys later.
Don't
Thanks
call
very
it a
much.
comeback.